All right. I think we're in. Can everyone hear me? Let me know in the chat. All right. What's up, everybody? See if I can adjust with the light. All right. Chargers therapy. Let's do it. We're cracking our beer. This is Hops with Pop. We're back on YouTube. It just feels right to be back on YouTube. I know we've been trying to do the live rooms, trying to mix it up a little bit, but this is our home here. Hops with Pop, Chargers therapy. We're drinking Harlan Brewing out of San Diego, California, Japanese lager. I was in Whole Foods, and it was the first one that caught my eye. So cheers. What's everyone drinking? Let me know in the chat what you're drinking. Interesting. Chugging bleach. Don't blame you. Drinking your own tears. We got a bourbon and water. Wine is totally fine, Mark. Jet fuel with 2 olives. The 2 olives probably add a nice touch there. Stone Brewing, Stella, can't go wrong with that. A little White Russian. Shout out to Big Lebowski. We got Costco Scotch, a little Keystone Light, High Noon, Busch Light, Diet Pepsi, gasoline, Gentleman Jack, liquid cocaine. Okay, interesting. Powerade and weed. All right. Paint thinner. Space Dust. Shout out to you. You know, Space Dust is my favorite. We got Vanilla Oak Cream Ale, Proper 12. Watermelon Sour. That sounds delicious. A little gin and tonic. Cucumber, Gatorade, and tequila vodka. Tequila vodka. Both of them? Busch Light Apple. Kona Big Wave. Love a Kona Big Wave. That was what I was drinking when we did a live room. I forget, maybe week 1. All right. How's everybody feeling? Let me know in the chat. It's a rough day out there for Chargers Twitter. How's everybody feeling? Vent in the chat. Get it all out. This is a safe space. This is Chargers therapy. Go ahead and get it out of your system in the chat. I can't tell if I like this beer or not. Yeah, get it all out. That's fine. If you want to fire Brandon Staley, go for it right now. It's a safe space. I think that's silly, but get it all out. Want Sean Payton? Get it all out. There is nothing, unless you're being an asshole in the chat, which we will not tolerate. We will ban you. But if you want to complain, get it all out in the chat. Leaving Herbert in was fireable. Listen, having Herbert in that game at the end was inexcusable. I said this in the live room last night. I'll say it again right now. Like, that can't happen. Because if you guys remember, Frankie's being annoying. What? I'm trying to stream for the people. You want to pets? Okay. If you remember that 45-0 loss to the Patriots and Anthony Lynn's last season when they couldn't get the right number of players in the field and special teams, it was a disaster. And at the end of that game, they had Justin Herbert in the game. They couldn't protect, and you felt like he was going to get injured. And I thought that was inexcusable. But you add in another layer that Justin has this pretty severe rib injury. There is literally no upside to keeping him in that game. I don't care if you think that it's going to appease Justin Herbert. I don't care if you think that it's going to, add to his cachet with teammates, whatever it is. In that position as a head coach, you have to step in. You have to overrule your player. Even if he's insisting to go back in, even if he's screaming at you that he wants to go back in, it is your job as a head coach to protect your player in that situation and make the correct decision organizationally, which is to take him out of the football game and keep him safe and make sure that he does not get injured. Because God forbid, they got lucky. Because there were 2 hits that he took, because Storm Norton couldn't block anybody. There was 2 hits that he took on that drive in that first series that easily could have injured him further. And imagine if he's in that game in that moment and his rib injury gets worse because of a hit he takes in a completely unnecessary point of the game. There's just no explanation for that. So, listen, Brandon Staley said today that he has to be better moving forward, and he has to let Justin Herbert know in that situation that he's already proved everything that he needs to prove, and that there's no reason for him to be in that game. It was a mistake. It was a mistake, and he should have taken Justin Herbert out of that game. Now, hold on 1 second, guys. I gotta close the door. Get out of here. You're being annoying. So that's just where it is. Like, that's the reality. There's no other way to explain it, right? He should have been taken out of that game. But listen, these injuries are bad, guys. These injuries are bad. Last season, the Chargers were 9th in adjusted games lost, which is Football Outsiders metric as far as measuring how injured a team is. It weights players with more playing time higher to sort of take into account, how injured you are based on the quality of the players that are injured based on their playing time. And so I have the data in an Excel sheet. And so they were 9th last year. In 2020, they were 27th, 2019, 25th, 2018, 20th, 2017, 16th, 2016, 31st, 2015, 27th, 2014, 30th, 2013, 28th. So, like, there is a trend here since Telesco took over in 2013, General Manager Tom Telesco, that they've been a really injured team. But they were finished last year as 9th in adjusted games lost. Like, they were one of the healthiest teams in the league, and it's as healthy as they've been since 2008. This is the polar opposite, and this is what it looks like when you get bad injury luck. And I don't think it needs to be some referendum on the training staff. I don't think it needs to be some referendum on sports performance. Like, you go look at these injuries, and it's, how can you prevent them, right? I mean, Rashawn Slater it was a very routine play. He engaged Jaguars defensive lineman Robertson Harris in a very, very routine play, had his left arm extended, and when he connected and engaged with the defensive lineman's shoulder, it just his bicep just popped, and he crumpled to the ground on a knee staring at his bicep. Like, I don't think that's a training issue. Joey Bosa slipping on a pass rush move and pulling his groin severely. Is that a training issue or is that a field surface issue? Keenan Allen, he's been very healthy ever since the early part of his career, and his hamstring pulled on him running a route in that Raiders game. You're looking at an older player in his 10th year in the league. Like, that kind of stuff happens, but it's unlucky and it's bad. It's bad. I mean, Corey Linsley's knee injury is, what I've been told is that it's not an acute injury. He didn't just suffer the knee injury on one play. It feels like something that's sort of a lingering knee issue for an older player. And that's a problem if he's dealing with that the whole season. If he can come back this week, great. But you look at that Chiefs game and the plays that Justin Herbert got injured on, and you wonder if it goes differently if Corey Linsley is in there. The first one, Mike Dana beat Zion Johnson. And Will Clapp didn't really have the awareness to sense that he had a rookie on a defensive end on the interior, and he had his back turned to Dana as he came up the middle. Does Corey Linsley sense that? Is he aware in that situation and get a little piece of Dana as he's coming up the middle and prevent that hit that Justin Herbert takes, or at least give Herbert enough time to protect himself in that situation and not land on the helmet? These are what ifs, obviously, but the second one was a stunt where Trey Pipkins or Storm Norton was in right tackle, and Zion Johnson got beat on a stunt by Frank Clark. Like, does Matt Filer and Corey Linsley, and Will Clapp in that situation, we're double teaming Chris Jones. Does Corey Linsley have more awareness in that situation to peel off and sense the stunt and get a chip on Clark so Justin doesn't take that second hit in 3 plays? Like, these are all what ifs, but Justin's the most important player on the offense, but Corey Linsley is a close second, right? And so now you've got a center who's dealing with this knee issue that's going to be there over the course of the whole season. You wonder how much he's going to be able to play, if he's going to be able to finish games. You're out your left tackle. That changes everything from a protection plan standpoint, because, you head into a game and you don't care who's opposite Rashawn Slater. It doesn't matter if it's Chandler Jones. Doesn't matter if it's Josh Allen. You feel like you can put Rashawn Slater out there and block on an island. He prefers to do it that way, and that means you can target all your help to other places on the offensive line. That's no longer the case. You're going to have My expectations is going to be Storm Norton at left tackle, Trey Pipkins at right tackle, because they're, Staley said today that they're trying to, move as few pieces as possible. Like, Storm's going to be an issue out there. Storm's going to be an issue out there. That's just the reality of the situation. I mean, he was a disaster. PFF had him at 8 pressures and 23 pass blocking snaps. Like, that's horrific. And that was part of it too, of like, why are you keeping Justin Herbert in there? Like, your left tackle can't block. These two edge rushers, Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen, are able to pin their ears back and get after you because you're going to be throwing the football. It was hard to wrap my mind around, but that's going to be a problem. And so now you have to really help both of your tackles. Your left guard, who was playing at a high level last year, seems to have fallen off a cliff. I have no idea what's going on with Matt Filer. He doesn't look like anywhere close to the same player. And so you got a weakness at left guard. You got a weakness at right tackle. You got a weakness at left tackle. You potentially have a weakness at center if Corey Linsley's not in there. And you got a rookie at right guard. Like, all of a sudden, this offensive line was supposed to be a strength of this team, and it's a real issue now. And you got a quarterback who's playing with fractured rib cartilage, and you got to find a way to protect him. So what does that mean? And you can't run the ball, right? The Chargers are 31st in rushing DVOA. So it's bad, guys. Like, it's bad. And I know this is, we're supposed to, it's supposed to be Chargers therapy and find some positives here, but I just don't know how the offense is going to be able to put it together. How do you make this work? If defenses know that you can't run the ball and you can't pass protect, what on earth are you going to do when you have a quarterback that is usually a superhero who's now a mere mortal because of this injury? Can't move as well. His accuracy was off in that game. I know a lot of you guys took exception with that tweet that I put out, but the reality is he wasn't as accurate. That's just straight up. Go watch the tape. He was not as accurate. And the protection was an issue. And so how do you solve this offensively? I don't know. Like, it's bad. And then you look at it defensively, and Joey Bosa is so important to this team. Like, they needed these two edge rushers to stay healthy for the whole season. Like, that had to happen. You could not have either of these guys miss significant time. Now, they could get banged up, sure, but you could not have a significant severe groin injury to one of them where you're potentially going to miss a month. Like, that's a huge issue. Because, listen, I like Chris Rumph, but he needs to be in a rotational role. And what I've seen out of Kyle Van Noy through these 3 weeks, like, he's not going to have some resurgence here in Los Angeles. Like, the Jaguars ran right where Joey Bosa would have been playing on that 50-yard touchdown, and they had nobody on that side that could make a play. If Joey Bosa's in the game playing where Kyle Van Noy was playing on that play, I don't think that's a touchdown. The way that Joey Bosa's been defending the run, it changes everything for them from a pass rush standpoint. Because, if you have Bosa on one side, Khalil Mack on another, all of a sudden you have to make a decision, right? You can't chip and double team both of those guys all the time. So you're gonna be able to engineer a lot of one-on-ones, which I looked at in my film review. But as soon as you take Joey Bosa out of there, you're not worried about whoever is rushing from that side. So all of a sudden you can target your entire pass protection plan at Khalil Mack and dare Chris Rumph or Kyle Van Noy or whomever else to win one-on-ones over there. And that's not going to happen consistently. So Joey Bosa being out affects the run defense. We saw that. It's going to affect the pass rush. And so it's not good. It's not good. And then, even offensively, you lose Jalen Guyton for the season with an ACL. I know he wasn't playing a lot in those first couple games, played a season-high 16 snaps, and obviously caught that long bomb from Herbert. Like, he's the only legitimate field stretcher that they have because Mike Williams gets to that part of the field, but it takes him longer to get there. So you have to protect to get Mike Williams open on these post routes. They don't have anyone that can stretch the field at this point. So, and then we haven't even talked about J.C. Jackson. Don't understand why they played him 57 snaps, 100% of the defensive snaps in that game, because he obviously didn't respond the way that they were expecting. Plays in that game, plays a full game, and then 10 days later, he's not ready to go. Where is J.C. Jackson at? He's dealing with inflammation in the ankle. Does that get better? You're playing game after game after game. At what point is he going to be back? And is he going to be the same player if he's dealing with inflammation in the ankle? So it's not good. I know I'm supposed to be making you guys feel better, but it's hard right now. And I'm always going to be real with you guys. Okay. Jonathan says, okay, tell us 3 things that don't suck. Number 1, I won my fantasy baseball championship. How about that? I've been in this league since 2013. This is my first time winning. So let's go, guys. Other than that, let's see. Zion Johnson looks like the real deal. And so, obviously he was supposed to fit into a much different looking offensive line that he's going to fit into, but he looks legit. DeAndre Carter gives you depth at receiver that they weren't necessarily expecting when they signed him. He looks like a legit player as a receiver. And so that gives you a little bit of hope there in the passing game. And Asante Samuel Jr. is playing really well. It looks like he's taken that next step. I thought that pass breakup he had on the goal line was really exceptional. He's putting himself in position to get his hands on the football, and that's really, really encouraging for the Chargers. So there's three things. All right, someone asked why not Salier. So that's a good question. I literally asked that in my final thoughts for today. Why not? Like, we've all seen Storm Norton play, right? We know what Storm Norton is, and he battles and he plays with a lot of effort, and I can appreciate that part of his game, but he's just not physically talented enough to match up with some of these edge rushers. And so there have been moments where Storm Norton has been out there, and it is the literal worst case scenario. You look back at that Raiders game in Week 18 last year. You look at him at left tackle when he came on for Slater in the second half. Like, it can't get worse than that. And Jamari Salier, despite the fact that he fell in the draft, I think there were some injury concerns with him, some movement concerns. He's not a particularly athletic guy at his size, and that's why they wanted to put him on the interior and sort of take advantage of how big he is. But give him a look, right? At least give him a look. I mean, this is a guy that played left tackle at a pretty high level against really good competition in the SEC. It can't get worse than Storm Norton, so at least give it a shot. And if you throw Salier in there, you can still achieve what you're trying to achieve in terms of not moving that many pieces around, right? I don't think that's going to happen, guys. I really don't think that's going to happen. I think that they should at least give him a look out there, but I really don't think that's going to happen. Like, Storm Norton is their swing tackle. They were expecting him to play at some point this season because you're not going to get 17 games that are both your tackles. And so that's what they're going to roll out there, and they don't want to move more pieces than they have to. So I think it would make more sense in my mind to move Trey Pipkins to left tackle, where he played well in Week 15 last year, and then put Storm Norton at right tackle, where at least we've seen him play decent football at times. He's more comfortable there. But I really think that it's going to be Storm Norton at left tackle and Trey Pipkins at right tackle, and they're just going to roll with it and try and scheme it up. And I don't know. This is actually very good. Shout out to Harlan the Brewing, San Diego, California. Japanese lager, very good. Go buy it if you're at Whole Foods. Yeah, Myles Garrett in 2 weeks. That's a really good point, Ty. And Jadeveon Clowney, unless he's injured. I haven't looked in. Is he injured? Yeah, he's injured, so he's not going to play Thursday night. But that is scary thinking about Myles Garrett going up against Storm Norton. Is Keenan good to go this week? I think he's got a decent shot to play this week. I talked to him in the locker room on Wednesday, and he said that he had a shot to play this week. Obviously, they didn't want to push it. Myles Garrett was in a car accident today, so something to keep in mind. Yeah, it's a good point, guys. All right, what else we got? I'm sorry. I mean, I'm always going to be real with you guys. I'm going to give you the truth, and that's the truth of what the situation is. It's not good. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that it's all going to be great, because it's not looking good right now. It's not looking good right now, and I'm going to be real with you. But I'm happy to sit here and we'll answer some questions, and probably do another 10 minutes or so, and then everyone can go watch the second half of this Giants Cowboys game. God, this is moving fast. Lots of comments. All right. All right. Any words on Telesco? Well, first off, he's not my boss. I know he's your boss. I'm not employed by the Chargers. I'm employed by the Athletic. I'm an independent reporter, and I'm giving you objective information. So anyone who's been following me knows that I have kept it real with Telesco. He is a good talent evaluator, right? I mean, you can go look at the way he's drafted, and he's drafted very well. I don't think he's a bad GM. I really don't. However, this is a results-driven business, okay? And this is his 10th season. He's under 500 in his career. He only has 2 playoff victories. He's never made a conference championship game. And if it does not go well this year, like I don't care how injured they are, if they don't make the playoffs this year, then it's got to be time to move on. Like not because you think he's a bad GM, but because something's got to change. You have to make a change if it doesn't work out this year just to see if something else will work. There are pretty much no GMs in the league who get this kind of leash without results. Regardless of how well you draft, regardless of the fact that you hit on Justin Herbert, these are all things that are feathers in his cap, and I give him credit for those things. But at some point, you have to win, and it's not all on him. But at some point, you got to say, okay, if it doesn't work out this year, bring somebody else in, bring somebody fresh in with new ideas, and see if you can find a way to make it work. Because you've got the quarterback. Can a different strategy, a different approach, a fresh pair of eyes make it work? And that's just where I'm at with it. And it's not to sit here and criticize him for every decision that he's made because he has done good things and he is a good talent evaluator and he does draft well. But the results are the results at the end of the day. And like 10 years into it, you've gone a decade here and you haven't gotten any results. And at some point you got to look at it and say, okay, it's time to bring in a fresh face and see if somebody else can make this work. And a lot of it is, some of it is luck too, right? Like some of it is injury luck. That's just the reality of it. But, I think he spent a bunch of years in the middle years not investing enough in this offensive line, and that really prevented this team from being successful when Phillip Rivers was in his later years. They've now finally invested in the offensive line. This was the year. It felt like it was all going to come together, and they have just been struck by injuries. And it's unfortunate, but at some point, you've given somebody enough time in that position. Like most guys don't get 10 years without results. You get maybe 4 or 5 years without results, and then it's time to find somebody new to make it happen. And there's got to be a sense of urgency with the quarterback, with the market that you're in to make it happen. And if it's not happening with this GM, then you got to find a new one. That's kind of where I'm at with it. What's going on with the run game? I got to watch the film from Sunday, from yesterday. First 2 games, I didn't feel like it was that far away the first 2 games. I felt like they were getting pushed. I felt like they were being physical at the point of attack. It just felt like a missed block here, a missed block there. And then sometimes it's just some poor vision and poor decisions from the running backs. But it felt like, okay, they've got a good foundation here and they're going to put it together. Obviously, that didn't happen on Sunday. A lot of that was game script, though. Like if you only get 11 design runs in the game, and one of them was like a really bad play call on a jet sweep, really 10 design runs to your running backs. A lot of that is game script. You're not going to, but it's 3 games in now. You have enough of a sample size here to say, okay, something's not working with the run game. Like they're terrible in the run game by every single metric imaginable. A lot of it is the blocking, right? They're last in the league in yards before contact per rush, according to True Media. That tells you these running backs are getting hit very quickly. 77 of Austin Eckler's 80 yards have come after contact, which means that he's not getting holes to hit for the most part, right? But some of it too is that you're not getting a lot out of these running backs. And, Eckler has made some plays, but he's not the same guy he was last year through these first 3 weeks. And I think he would tell you that same thing from an efficiency standpoint. So, and the hard part about it is you don't know how it's going to get better, right? If you're rolling out that same offensive line, right, and you got the same tight ends in there. You have a new tight end in Gerald Everett. You have a new fullback in Xander Horvath. continuity is really important in the running game in terms of how you set up blocks, how you are playing off of each other in terms of taking on defenders, right? And oh, hold on. Melvin Gordon just tweeted at me. Oh, he's talking about Jalen. Said no to Jalen Guyton. Some of it's continuity with this run game and trying to get all these pieces to fit together because it has to be continuity. There has to be, a level of unity among these blockers in terms of how they're going about things to open up these holes. But now you're rotating a bunch of different guys in there. You're losing a lot of talent, a lot of physicality, a lot of size. How does it get better? I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you guys. Can you talk about how Chargers never get production from late round picks? I don't totally agree with that. Derek Watt was a late round pick. Chris Rumph has been a fine rotational piece as a late round pick. Drew Tranquil is a really good player as a late round pick. You're not going to hit on like a bunch of fifth, sixth, and seventh round picks. This is the reality of it. Like, I don't think that's a major concern. Getting a lot of questions about Staley losing the locker room. I don't think there's any validity to all of those rumors. I'm going to be in the locker room this week and I'll try and get a sense of it, but it doesn't happen that quickly. Like last year, a lot of these guys really believed in Staley. They know he's a smart guy. They know he's putting him in the right positions. I didn't think the game plan was very good against the Jaguars. I felt like they got out coached, but it's just one game. You don't lose a locker room that fast. And I feel like these guys believe in these coaches. I see how these coaches interact with their players, and you feel that there's a connection there. It was one bad day and one bad game plan. Is it excusable? No. That can't happen, but I don't think it means he's lost the locker room. You know, the game plan in the Chiefs game I thought was excellent defensively. The way that they brought some sim pressures, the way they timed their blitzes, how they covered, the way they kept Patrick Mahomes in the pocket. I thought they executed at a really high level besides that one play where Mahomes got outside the pocket and hit McKinnon for the touchdown. Otherwise, I felt like the game plan was really, really sound. So I don't get that sense. I don't get that sense, but I'll be in the locker room this week and I'm gonna try and get a sense on it, but I really don't think there's any validity to those rumors. I really don't think that's the case. Just gut feeling at this point, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, a lot of fire Lombardi's comments. He's not going to get fired. Yeah, he's not going to get fired. I mean, listen, like you tell me what's your issue with Lombardi? You can talk about the fact that you want him fired. It's a safe space. Get your feelings out. But if you really feel this way, tell me why he should be fired. Ken Wisenhunt got fired during the season, but that was not because of what was happening on the football field. I don't think at this point. I think I've told you guys this before. I know what happened. I can't tell you what happened, but there was some shit going on behind the scenes, and it had nothing to do with how they're performing. Now they weren't performing well, but Anthony Lynn's a very loyal guy, and there was other stuff going on there that led to Ken Wisenhunt getting fired. One day I will. I promise you, I will tell this story, but I can't right now. All right, let's see. We're getting some stuff in here. Stupid small routes. listen, some of it is schematics, right? They do a lot, like there are a lot of play designs that are in super condensed areas, and it does get frustrating at times. They're not running a ton of stuff to the deep part of the field, but there's so much that goes into that, right? There's so much that goes into that. Some of it is the play calling. Some of it is the route design. Absolutely. And you can get on the schematics of it. It's a fair point. But you have to make these points while also taking in other factors into consideration. And that includes, right, your protection. If you want to throw the ball down the field to guys that aren't particularly fast, you got to protect. If you have Tyreek Hill, that guy can get down the field really quickly. You don't have to protect as long. But when you're throwing to Mike Williams down the field, who runs a 4.53, that takes a little bit longer, right? And so you have to factor in the protection. And guess what, right? If he was running the Bruce Arians offense and was just all of the routes were 15 air yards downfield, and he's running all these deep concepts, and Justin Herbert was getting killed back there, and they're going 3 and out on every single possession with all these deep developing routes, but they could not get the throws off because they didn't have the protection, you guys would be killing him too. The production isn't there. That ultimately falls on the play caller. I'll give you guys that, but you got to be able to protect to get the ball downfield. And right now they can't do that. Now I understand some of the concerns early in the season when they had all those guys in there, right? But through the first, he and Lombardi admitted he got a little conservative late in that game, in the Raiders game. But then you lose Corey Linsley at halftime of the Chiefs game, and that changes everything. And now you're down Slater, and Matt Filer isn't the same player, and your quarterback's injured. So, the reality is right now they're not going to be able to push the ball downfield with the way that their personnel and these injuries have set up, right? But the other part of this as well is how Justin Herbert plays. And all of this ends up falling on Lombardi's shoulders. And I'm not trying to defend him here, but I'm just trying to give you guys the facts. Justin Herbert gets through his progressions really quickly. He's incredibly intelligent. He's a very high football IQ. He's a very fast processor. And he always wants to make the right decision. And so he isn't Josh Allen in terms of his mentality. And I said this last night in the live room. Josh Allen is a pure gunslinger. He's going to throw the ball up for grabs, and if he throws a pick, it's not that big of a deal. Justin Herbert really wants to avoid those types of things. And so if he doesn't, sometimes he'll get through his progression so quickly and check it down because that's the right decision. And he doesn't give, some of these deeper developing routes when they're called to get open because that's just how he processes. So it's all of these factors. So absolutely some of it is schematics. But some of it, too, is protection. And some of it, too, is how Justin Herbert operates as a quarterback. And that all has to be considered. But listen, I understand some of it is frustrating. Oh, my God. Who is this? We're banning. First ban. Bippity boppity. Sending the same message into the chat 7 times will get you banned. All right? And let's get the chant going. Ban. 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 Ban, 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 see ya. Adios, pelota. All right, that was fun. I know that Joe Lombardi got fired with the Lions. It was 8 years ago. People change, people develop, people get better at their jobs by doing it more often and learning. All right. Game back on. Oh, yeah, we're deep in the third quarter. All right. I will answer one more question. Throw it in there. Best question wins. All right, that's a good one. How can the Chargers get the ball to Mike Williams? They can get Keenan Allen back on the field. That's going to change everything. With Keenan out, teams can really roll their coverages in Mike Williams' direction. I mean, I think that play early in the game where Herbert tried to hit Williams over the middle on that dig route, he's double covered. They're rolling coverage that way. They know that Mike Williams is going to be the number one guy when Keenan's not in there. When Keenan gets back in there, it opens up everything for Mike down the field. It opens everything for Mike in the intermediate and short areas because they have to focus attention on Keenan out. And so if Keenan comes back this week, that's going to open up a lot of things for Mike Williams. So We'll leave it here, guys. Hops are done. Pop's done. Not a great day for the Chargers. Not a great day for the Chargers. And it's going to be a tough road forward with these injuries, man. It's going to be tough. But the Chargers are only 3 games in to a 17-game season. Keenan Allen looks like he's coming back. Corey Linsley, if he can fight through this knee injury, changes a lot of things up front. J.C. Jackson, give him some time to rest. The further he gets away from this ankle surgery, the closer he's going to be able to play every week. I'm not saying that the outlook is positive, but I think the coaching staff is good. I really do. I know they've made some mistakes, but I think the coaching staff is good. You saw Justin Herbert in the second half of that game start to feel a little more comfortable, right? Figure out how to play with this rib injury. I'm not saying that they're Super Bowl contenders because it's going to be tough with these injuries, but there's a lot of football left to be played, right? And we can't sit here and say that the season is over 3 weeks into the season. It might feel like that, but it certainly is not because there's 14 games left on the slate. 10 is still at quarterback. Keenan's coming back. Got Mike Williams in there, potentially Corey Linsley back. You still have Khalil Mack. Secondary is still pretty healthy. Still have Derwin James. Kenneth Murray has looked like a completely different player. Like, there are some positives here, and we'll see what happens. Football is a funny game, and if Brandon Staley can get this thing turned around and start developing some better game plans week to week, we'll see what happens. I'm never going to doubt Justin Herbert. As long as he can stay on the field, the Chargers are going to have a chance. It's not good. There are a lot of concerning parts of what's happened with these injuries, but there's a lot of football left to be played. And we'll leave it there. Adios.